Hey guys, Phil from Trail Talk here, and I'm pretty stoked to share with you my first ride review of the brand new Polygon Siskiu T. So before we go for a ride, I'm just going to fill you in about all the details of the brand new bike. And just a quick disclaimer before we jump in, Bikes and Bicycles Online, who do sell Polygon in the US and Australia, did provide this bike for review, but didn't pay for it in any kind of way. And as you know, I will always provide my honest review. But if you do want to purchase the bike, I've got an affiliate link for Bicycles Online, so if you purchase it through that link, I get a little bit of a kickback and it really supports the channel. But enough of that plug, let's get into the review. So if you aren't too familiar with the Polygon Siskiu line, there's Siskiu D for downcountry. So I reviewed that bike earlier in the year and the link in the descriptions for that. There's Siskiu T for trail. And then there's Siskiu N for enduro. So the original Siskiu T came out in 2017 to some fanfare. It was a great value bike that really was a do-it-all trail bike. But bikes have changed a lot since 2017, and the new Siskiu T is bang up to date with all those changes. First off, and this is the biggest one, there is now room for a water bottle in the front triangle. I know this was a deal breaker for a lot of you with the old model, so I'm glad it's been addressed. Polygon's wheel fit size system's also been carried over from the previous model. So sizes small and medium come in 27.5 inch wheels, and then sizes medium, large and extra large come in 29 inch wheels. Travel for 29 inch models is 135 in the rear and 140 up front, and 27.5 inch wheel bikes come with 140 in the rear and 150 up front. So the biggest change in the bikes is definitely the geometry. So reach has grown by 20 to 30 millimeters on all sizes. So the size large I have, that has a 480 millimeter reach, and that used to be 450, so 30 millimeters there, so big change there. The effective seat angle's also been steepened as well, so you've got a 76.5 degree seat angle on the new one, and that's definitely gonna help you with climbing. And then head angles have been slackened by a degree as well. So 29 inch models have 65.5 degree head angles and 27.5 inch models have 65 degrees. And the chainstays have also been shortened by 5 millimeters. So on my 29er, it's got a 430 millimeter chainstay. So nice and short to keep it fun. And then to round it all off, you've got significantly shorter seat tubes as well. So it's nice and short now. So on small and medium sizes, they have 150 millimeter drop posts. And then on large and extra large models have 170 millimeters of drop. So nice to see they come stock with longer dropper posts. So it's pretty impressive that bikes of this price come with this good geometry. So geometry like this you'd find on bikes that cost up to 2 to 3 grand more. So that's pretty awesome to see it's at a more affordable level now. And don't worry, we'll get into price soon. So what else has changed? So the bike still uses Polygon's tried and true fork spar suspension layout. So it's a linkage actuated single pivot. But thanks to making some room for the water bottle, it's actually welcomed some significant improvements to the kinematics of the suspension as well. So the anti-squat actually has been raised by around 10%. In a 32 to 14 gear at sag, you got around 109% of anti-squat, so that's really good. And then the axle path stays a little bit rearward for longer as well, so that's good, and that's gonna help with dealing with square-edged hits. So criticism of the suspension of the old model is that it felt a little bit harsh off the top, and it ramped up a little bit too quickly. So to help with this, the progression has been reduced ever so slightly. They also have custom shock tunes with a lighter compression tune, and this should make things a little bit less harsh, and then also gives riders more scope to tune progression with volume spaces as well. So let's get into the models. So there are two models of the Siskiu T, so there's the T7 and the T8, and they both share the same frame. So the T7 comes in at 2,699 Australian dollars, and 1,799 US dollars. So the T7 comes with this cool lime to teal fade. It looks really cool in person. Then you've got a RockShox Recon fork up front, and then a RockShox Deluxe Plus in the rear. And then you've also got the brand new Shimano M6100 Dior 12-speed drivetrain. And then you've got the top of the line T8 you see here, and this comes in at 3,299 Australian dollars and 2,299 US dollars. So it comes with this cool kind of purple with kind of like metallic fleck paint, and that's with the black. And then under it, it's got this kind of rainbow reflective Polygon sticker, which is absolutely awesome. Spec on this model, you've got the Fox 34 Rhythm up front, which is actually good. The Rhythm, it's got a slightly stiffer chassis, so it's good for a 34mm stanchion fork. It's actually pretty stiff, and this comes with a grip damper. And then in the rear, you've got a Fox Float DPS, so nice shock there too. And then for the drivetrain, you've got the brand new Shimano SLX 12-speed drivetrain there, so plenty of range there, and it shifts nice and crisply. So both models come equipped with tubeless ready tires and then wide tubeless ready rims. You just need to add tape and valves. Then you've got some nice finishing kit there, short stems, wide bars, all the stuff that you want, dropper posts, all the stuff that you need to get yourself going on the trails. So overall, so far, you get great geometry, some nice improvements to the suspension, and then great spec for the money. So I'll do a few more comparisons to the competition in my full review, so definitely subscribe to check out that. But at the moment, it's looking pretty damn good for the money. So you're probably pretty bored hearing me talk about the specs and all that kind of stuff. So let's go to the trails, take it for a ride, and I'll come back with my first ride impressions. Okay, so we're back home just after the ride. I jotted down some notes, so I'll give you my first impressions of the bike. So just quickly in terms of setup, so you guys know what I was kind of running. So in the shock, I was running 170 PSI and then 6 clicks from clockwise on the rebound, and I weigh around 83 kilos. And then on the fork, I was running 90 PSI, so that was around 4 PSI extra from what Fox recommends, but I think I could go a little bit higher even than that. And then 7 clicks from full clockwise on the rebound. And then the compression, I kind of had it probably 1/3 from fully open, so a little bit of compression on the fork. So let's dig into those first impressions. So in short, it's just a modern trail bike, and that's really what you want out of these bikes. And what I mean by that, it pedals well, it works well in varied terrain, and it's overall fun. And that's, yeah, as I said, what you really want from a trail bike. But digging a little deeper with some comparisons to the old model, it hasn't lost its character. There's definitely some DNA there, but what a bike is capable is a lot higher. So it's a lot more capable than what it used to be. And this is definitely a good thing because the Siskiu D, the new model, is definitely very capable, and it was getting very close to the old model Siskiu T. So it's good that there's a clear difference between those bikes now, and the new one, the new Siskiu T, is definitely a lot more capable of descending than the Siskiu D and then the old model as well. So if you're doing mostly XC and more flow trails, so kind of like blue and green flow trails, then definitely go the Siskiu D. But if you're doing everything from XC, trail, and enduro, and you're definitely starting to push the bike a bit more, the Siskiu T is definitely for you. So it's definitely, if you're gonna have one bike, this is the one that you should get if you're doing a lot of different riding. I don't want to compare the new model to the old model too much, but I definitely can see the people that are riding the old generation Siskiu T definitely progressing towards the new generation. It's a lot more of a natural progression, and it feels more natural going from that bike to this one than say jumping to the Siskiu N, which is a full-on enduro bike. I think that the bike is a lot more capable than it used to be, and it feels a lot more, as I said, like a natural progression. So it's definitely going to suit a lot of people. Okay, so let's start talking a bit about the suspension. So you definitely do notice that increased level of anti-squat. This bike pedals very well. The pedaling platform is very stable. And then when you do want to sprint, you're definitely rewarded by the bike accelerating. There's not much pedal bob there at all. I can definitely see myself pedaling on this bike all day. That pedaling platform, as I said, really good. And in combination with that seat angle, so that 76.5-degree seat angle, it's definitely a bike that's very efficient, puts you right over the pedals, and you can put the power down. So yeah, it's definitely a great pedaling bike. In terms of the suspension on the descent, it feels like a trail bike. It's not going to be a bike that feels like a full-on enduro bike. It's a trail bike, and I really like that about this bike. The suspension responds really well to pushing into corners, pumping, and just having fun if you want a manual and all that kind of stuff like that. Then the suspension responds really well to that. It's definitely more on that trail bike side of things. But what the good thing is, there's a fair bit of progression there. So because this geometry in the bike wants to really make you go fast, it's definitely really capable. There's a nice bit of progression there to soak up those bigger hits when you start pushing it. That kind of harsh feeling at the top of the stroke on the old model has definitely been toned down a bit for this model, but there's still that really supportive mid-stroke, which I really like on this bike. As I said, it's a trail bike. You will really want that supportive mid-stroke. But the suspension's really versatile on this bike. You could probably run it a little bit deeper in the sag, so around 32, 33%, and put a bigger volume spacer, so run lower pressures so you kind of get that more active feeling, and then you get a bit more ramp up towards the end. In terms of sizing, I felt perfect on this size large, so it's got a 480mm reach and I'm 185 centimeters, and it has a 45mm SEM too, so to me it felt perfect for my height. Usually on bikes with 480 to 490mm reach, I feel like I have to weight the front end a bit more, but I felt really neutral on this bike. I felt like I didn't have to really weight the front end to stop it from washing out. I was actually pretty impressed with these tires. They're not the grippiest compound, but they're hands down. But I think it has a really good tread pattern for the trails around here in Sydney. I think what people are really going to be impressed about this bike is the versatility. That suspension, the short chainstays keep it nice and versatile and fun, but the longer reach, the slacker handle, make it really confident on the descents. I know confident is an overplayed word, but that's what this bike gave me. I had plenty of confidence to push it on the trails that I normally ride my Alpine trail on, which is a 150mm enduro bike. So as you can see, my local trails, they aren't necessarily the fastest trails, but there's plenty of tech there. So a lot of sandstone square edge hits, a lot of sandstone rollers, and 98% of the time, the Siskiu T would be my bike of choice. It's only when it gets very, very fast and chunky that I feel more comfortable on the Alpine trail, but it should. It has 150mm of travel versus 135 in the rear in this. So I was very impressed with this bike, and it definitely is very versatile. And what I really liked about this bike on my local trails, there's a lot of features and then kind of short intermittent sections between them. And on an enduro bike, once you hit one feature, you kind of get bogged down a little bit. But on this, I could really pedal, accelerate into the next one, and there was not really that dead space in between. I could really link stuff together and I felt a lot faster. Actually made my local trails a lot more fun than they used to be. I really feel fast on this bike, which I'm really impressed with. But I don't want to go too much into depth here about the performance of the whole bike and everything, but in terms of some quick specs, the shock performs well. DPS, it's a great trail shock. The Fox 34 performed very well too. It's actually very stiff for a 34mm stanchion fork. But as I said, I definitely feel like I could probably run a little bit more pressure in it. On this size large, the 170mm dropper, it really helps get your weight back. The old one had a lot longer of a seat tube, so this is definitely going to help get your weight back a bit more on those descents. 12-speed SLX Shimano drivetrain, absolutely bulletproof, shifts amazingly. There's no real complaints there. The Tektro Orion brakes, I've got those on my Alpine trail as well. I was actually really impressed. They bedded in very quickly and the power was actually pretty impressive. Normally I recommend changing the pads over to some Shimano Saint pads and that kind of stuff. I still do if you do want a bit more power, but I was actually impressed with the power that I had with the stock pads this time, so yeah, that impressed me. And then the finishing kit was nice too. Short stem, 45mm, nice wide bars as well, so not much to complain about there. So I might sound a little bit biased here and preachy, but I really can't find much wrong with the bike. 480mm reach, 76.5 degree seat angle, 65.5 degree head angle. The geometry is pretty damn dialed. You got those short chainstays to keep it fun as well. The spec that you're getting for the money is amazing. And the overall feel of the bike on the trails is great too. So if you can find something wrong with the bike, what you're getting for the money, you can leave it in the comments, but I'm really struggling to find something at the moment. But in my long-term review, who knows? But yeah, at the moment, it's definitely a great bike. So overall, I think it's going to be a bike that suits a lot of people, especially in Australia here where we don't have anything that's super, super crazy. This bike's going to suit a lot of people. It climbs well, it's fun, it's stable when it goes fast. There's not much more that you could really want from the bike. So if you ride a lot of different trails and you're just looking for a nice trail bike that is pretty damn capable, then definitely check the Siskiu T out. So if you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a like. If you have any questions about the bike, I'll be answering any question that you have about the bike. And as I said, if you do want to purchase the bike, the affiliate link is in the description. And if you enjoy the content that I produce, definitely subscribe as well. But as always guys, thanks for watching. See ya.